Hello, my viewer. Welcome to Health Now Show, your health friend, with me, Jane Kariuki. I'm so excited this morning to welcome those that have also not been with us on this show. This show, we say we are looking at all our health issues, physical issues, emotional issues, and how we can be able to navigate them throughout life as we move towards our goals in life, achieving them and even expanding them and looking at things that really makes us happy in our lives. Today there is a segment of the community of people that we want to focus on. Have you ever heard sometimes somebody asking, what is happening with my son who is a teenager? There are some changes that I'm realizing in him or on her, and this is not how they have been behaving before. What am I talking about? I'm talking about issues of drug abuse among the teenagers. This, in some cases, is a thorny issue, and some parents, some families have suffered. And that is why we thought it's very important for us to dive into it and look into it and see how can we help our parents, how can we help our families, and how can we be able to move and have a better society that is healthy. Because when we are healthy, when we are working well, when we are moving well with our lives, we are able to achieve, as I said earlier, our goals in life. To take us through this today is one who interacts, a friend of mine. Her day-to-day work is interacting with adolescents. She is a high school teacher. She's going to introduce herself further, and then we are going to get into this issue, the topic of drugs and drug abuse. Drugs and substance abuse. Without taking further ado, I want to welcome my friend and a colleague and a friend for a long time, Priscilla. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
I'm happy to host you today.
Thank you, Jane.
Yes.
I'm happy
Karibu
to be
once
here.
again.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce yourself to us.
Okay.
Yes.
My name is Priscilla Wajiku Mohia. I am a wife and a mother of 3, a young adult and 2 teenagers. And I'm a high school teacher. I'm also a counselor. And I am born again. And I'm so happy to be dealing with this because it is huge. It is huge. And I hope that we will make a milestone, all of us.
Asante sana. And once again, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. To start us off, kindly define for us what do we mean by drugs and substance abuse?
Okay.
Yeah.
To start with, Jane, I'd like us to handle this in a very layman perspective,
Yes.
Because sometimes when we talk about drugs, you know, sometimes we can be so technical and we don't reach the people. And I would say drugs, there are many. I would like us to talk about drugs that are taken for other purposes other than medical. That we are talking of things like bangi, miraa, and there are so many. Actually, the ones we don't know are more. Yeah, there are more.
Yes.
But those drugs, what they do is that they alter the chemical state of the brain. And actually, they have chemicals, you know, the way they are, the chemical component, some of them, they mimic the brain. And that is why they are so destructive. That is why they really affect the brain. So I am not a medical person. I would like to do it in a way that what are we seeing on daily basis? What are the issues of drug with our teenagers? Because I can say, Jane, it is sad on the ground. It is really sad. I would say if I were in government, I would call it a national disaster. That is what it is right now. So, and they are so available, there are so many, they are so varied, And the issue of drugs and drug abuse, it's so dynamic. It's so dynamic. It it mutates on daily basis. So what you were able to track yesterday, today it has a different form. So this is something really all of us, the society, the churches, all the stakeholders should come in, because in the classrooms we are suffering. We are suffering. It is, kids are getting psychotic. Psychotic is when they are maladjusted, because they are so deep in the drugs, they are so addicted, and they are trapped, and they are crying for help. Yeah.
So we are looking at it now, the categories of drugs. There is the medicine that we normally use when we are not feeling
from the
well.
doctors,
Yes, and there is now what is abused. Because I understand even some prescription drugs or medicine can also be abused.
Yes.
Now let us look at what are some of those that are usually, you've said that there are many and varied. What are some of those that you are aware of?
I think the most common, of course, there is bangi. And you see, we had something that really triggered in the last elections. One of the presidential candidates said they would grow bangi. It looked very innocent, but that thing was devastating. The ripple effect, we are still feeling it. Because people are like, if this is a presidential candidate, has been approved by the IEBC, so bangi, what's wrong with it? So people are just saying it is, we have been allowed by Wajakoya, you see. So bangi is the most common. And then we have miraa. And you see something like miraa, people are chewing them all over. And you know miraa is a stimulant. So there is a way that it affects the body. You become hyper, you can't sleep. And you see, it is so normalized. Actually, the problem we are having is that things have become so normalized, so the teenagers grow up thinking this is the normal way of life. In schools, when we are dealing with drugs, maybe you call a parent and then you think you are giving them news. Then the parent is like, I told you, don't take this one, take the other one. Because they are types, they have levels, So the one parent, I mean, that one was the worst statement I think I've ever heard. He said, Kamau, I said, Kamau, yeah? Let me use
Not
Kamau.
their name.
I told you to be using this one, the one I use. I still go to work. Why are you using this one? So how do you fight drugs with such a person? And I would also say, even as we talk about drugs, let's put alcohol there, because again, the magnitude of alcohol, it is beyond. And one of the reasons is that there is a way alcohol is marketed in a very glamorous way, And when the teenagers, one of the things that we don't understand as grown-ups, kids really learn by observing, let alone telling them do A, B, and C. And we call it in our profession, we call it the hidden curriculum. There are things that people will see and they just learn without you knowing. My students, they may dress the way I dress. They may speak the way they pick, because we are together. They just keep picking,
They observe
Yes,
and do.
yes. And that is the hidden curriculum, and we are not careful about it many times. Right now, there has never been an explosion of alcohol outlets in our country, even in our town. Liquor supermarkets. I'm an English teacher, so I deal with words. Any word I see, I dissect it. Liquor library, library, it's a good place. You go and buy books and, but now it's a liquor. So what are we doing? We are just validating, either consciously or unconsciously. And actually, alcohol intake is so much among the teenagers, and it's beginning from the home. Because at home, there is a cabinet, full of, it's a library on its own, And so they grow up, it's a way of life. When visitors come, they are served, you know.
So it is okay.
It is okay. So when they actually, it creates an incongruence, because when they come to school and we are telling them don't, and at home,
Do.
yeah. So this kid, they even get confused. So that is where we are.
That is where we are.
That is where we are. And I want to say, as a mother and as a mentor and as a teacher and as a counselor, we need to do something. We are losing a whole generation. Actually, right now, there are people who are mad. I know several. Just drugs. And they are mad. There is another one. I said there are some which are underground, you know. And unfortunately, some of them come from health institutions, mental institutions. There is another one called Koroga. I don't know, that is how they call it, the street name. And that thing is dangerous. It is a small white pill. And normally they will gang up as a group. They pull, you know, pulling, the power of many. They buy a bit of changa, they dilute, and you know, just a sip each. And they are going to be intoxicated the whole day. So you can imagine. And actually, I did a bit of research, and I was told that drug, it is for mental patients. Imagine. But it's available in the market. So that is another major. So there are so many, they keep coming. Then there is another one I was told in, it is, yani they keep evolving. You think this is the hottest, tomorrow there is another one. And they are terrible. The effects are terrible because they go straight to the brain. Some of these drugs, like the heroin and the cocaine, those ones are a bit reserved for the high class because they are very expensive. But taking once, kama heroin you smell, one snort like this, you are addicted. You are addicted. I got to know that there is the cocaine. It is also doing rounds, and what they are doing, the initial one, you are given free. It's free, but for you to get, you know, within hours, you want more. And for you to get high, you need a double dose. So each time you need a higher dose. And therefore, you can imagine now what happens along the way.
You get hooked.
You get hooked.
Yeah.
You must steal to sustain. I'm sure we will deal with effects.
Yes.
But I mean, it is from the word go, that person is gone.
Wow.
That is where we are.
Priscilla, I hear you. And I'm hearing you talk, you've mentioned about the availability of some of these substances. Kindly take us through some of the contributing factors that make our teenagers get into this substance and then they abuse them.
There are many factors. To start with, there's a lot of childhood trauma, which is never addressed. Children go through trauma. The parents are not even aware. Maybe with house girls. I'm sure you have seen some clips doing rounds of a small child being beaten. In fact, there are twice in a wall we share with you. And then we were asking, who is this? Who is taking the pictures? He is equally whoever it is.
Yeah.
Because a child is being beaten. And somebody is just taking so that you can post it to TikTok and get views. You know, that is inhuman. So you can imagine such a child, they grow up, there is that pain. Emotionally, it was never addressed. Psychologically, never addressed. Even maybe physically. And that child grows up with that pain. And when they grow up, because that pain will keep just going round and round, the unfinished business. And therefore one day, they may just discover, oh, I can try this. So that's a factor. That's a major factor.
To help them cope.
Yes, to cope. Then, of course, we have the toxic environments. And homes, unfortunately, homes have become very toxic. There is so much fighting. We talk with children. And if you do, I do some group therapies in schools for boarding for younger kids. And then you tell them, just come and hug me if you're missing your mom. And the stories they can tell you, they are so breaking. They're so heartbreaking. And these kids, sometimes I try, I want to organize with the admin so that they can get counseling, proper, several therapies, and even with somebody who is more qualified, handling the children. That is not an issue. I mean, it's not a priority. Even the parents, even if they can afford, they don't see it as a big need. So this child, they just grow up in a cocoon. But one day they will explode. So I think the home environment has become very toxic. Then, of course, the biggest one is the peer pressure. There is this thing of, vibes, and then, I don't listen to secular music per se, yeah? But I have a very musical ear. I will catch songs very fast. And in a bus, I had this song about tuleweka. That song, kanyweso. Very nice language for them. And that song is just promoting drunkenness. It is Friday. It is time to get drunk. And when you see the video, those people look happy. They are beautiful. They are smart. They have it. So, for a kid, they will be like, oh, so when we drink, we look like
Role
this.
modeling.
Yeah. So that also makes, peer, even what they see, and even their peers, they don't want to be left out. They are so insecure. You see, somebody with insecurities, they really want to be felt, to be loved, to belong.
Yeah.
So anything coming that can make them feel I am embraced, they go for it. So peer pressure is there. And then even curiosity. Curiosity, people are like, kids are curious by nature. And this thing is there. So they are like, this irie people talk about, what is it? So in the process, they get hooked. I know there is a man who said he began taking alcohol from the altar. The altar wine.
Yes.
And it's okay. I don't know whether they say it's non-alcoholic, but there is that guy. I have also taken it, and I was like, not bad. You see. So what that person would do, and I know many others, now they go and buy it, the quantity they want.
Yes.
And in the process, they become alcoholic.
Yes.
And that has happened to the clergy a lot, actually. Yeah. Drunkards from the altar wine. Yeah.
Okay. You mentioned about availability in the family. So as much as you said it, probably you can add onto it.
Yes, it's available. And thanks for mentioning that. There is a new normal that has come up. The traditional brews were approved by the government, especially for what? Ceremonies. And actually that has been a major initiator, because it is right there. There are people, and I will always do surveys with young people. When they are there, I take advantage.
Yes.
Because you take opportunity, yeah? You grab an opportunity. And if you ask, how many of you have tasted alcohol? You see like 3/4. Then you classify, how many, which one did you take? Most of them, they begin with the traditional brews. Yeah. Why? Because it is being brewed at home. They can even steal it. It happens. They steal it, they take to school, and they share with friends.
They carry like something
like 2 kasukus.
What?
Yes. They just scoop. Yeah?
To share with friends.
In school. In their birthdays. Actually, in the young people's birthdays today, the menu, list number 1, it is, there must be alcohol and there must be bangi. And this I am telling you verbatim. I have had, they have told me. And I'm like, and you see, it's like normal. I mean, what are you worried? That is normal. It's the way you say there's going to be a cake. That is where we are. So you see now within the family, when there is a ceremony, especially the dowry, there is something about it, it must be taken. So even the kids, I have had kids telling me I was given by my grandmother, a girl telling me, or a boy telling me I was given by my grandfather. You see, because it is within the family. But what these people don't know is it won't stop there.
It won't stop. It
Yes.
is not just an introduction.
Yes.
It's actually an introduction
Yes.
to continue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that one, it is, and actually what they are doing, they're even brewing for themselves. See, they know.
They know how it's made.
Yes, they know. They know because they see. So they also brew it for themselves.
Now, it is carried to school
Yeah.
in a kasuku.
Yeah.
In a container,
Yeah.
is shared to some of those that probably have never tasted.
Yeah.
Also another
The curiosity.
The
Unaona? Like, na hii inatesta aje? Hii busa inatesta aje? You see? So they start and then it becomes a cycle. They get hooked.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are at the end of the year and the festivities. And I'm imagining that those are also other opportunities, if I may use that word wrongly, opportunities for this, our adolescents, to get introduced to such kind of things.
Yes, because number one, there's a lot of partying. There are so many parties that go around, and actually parties, that is where most teenagers are introduced. I'm told of a young girl, she's in campus, a real story. She's invited for a party, party in these high-rise areas. And when she goes, you know how she's just a party, we go dance, And when she goes, she finds there is a cocktail of drugs, like a buffet, the way the African buffet, you find or whichever, yeah? So there was every drug, even the ones she had never had.
An assortment of
And
all of them.
yes. And you know her, and of course alcohol. And she said, I didn't come for this. I mean, I came for a party. And then she was like, I want to go away. I want to go back. And that was not an option either, going away.
Leaving was not an
yes.
option.
So, but what happened is, when she said that, the host became a bit flustered, like violent. He ran upstairs, maybe for a gun, I assume, but and when he ran upwards, there's some others who are dropped in a taxi who are coming for the party, and they got into the taxi. They got into the taxi, and that's how they escaped. But they were followed. They were chased. It was like the movies you see, yeah. So they were chased, but taxi drivers are very smart. They know places. That is how they were able to escape. So you can imagine should have been forced. And even if she refuses, it will be laced in the food and in the drinks. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it can happen even you are innocent, you don't know where you are going, but because you have friends, they have invited you for a party, and more so at this time, then you'll be introduced, sometimes by force.
Yeah, by force.
Because you are there.
Yeah. So being a festive season, there are so many parties that are organized and sleepovers. And those sleepovers, again, they are another item because anything can happen.
Yeah.
People come with drugs,
Yes.
and parents trust, maybe it's cousins, so they think nothing wrong really can go wrong.
Yeah.
So those are fertile grounds where teens begin to get. And actually, it is okay in school. It's a bit controlled.
Yes.
So at home, that is where the problem is.
That's where
the parents are not there. The kids are free. For example, right now they have a long vacation.
Yes.
And they are not used because they have been in school, programmed, tight schedules. So they are like, what do we do with time? They don't know how to spend their time. And that really is a big problem. Idleness is another major problem.
Yes.
Yeah. Idleness is a major problem.
And then the availability of this.
The availability,
in the
because you know, like even the weed, like in the parties, they give what you call the weed cookies. And I know the young people, they if I go to buy, if you and I go to buy, nobody can sell to you. They won't.
They look at you and
Yes,
say,
they know this one. They will even think you are a detective. You see. So the weed cookies are available. They are very sweet. A girl goes to a party, begins to eat the cookies. They are sweet, continues eating. By the time she's eating her fifth, she has begun getting mad, keep pole.
and probably even she didn't know.
And she's not aware.
She's not aware. She just thinks they are just normal cookies
Yeah.
that they are eating.
Yeah. And the sweets are there.
Uh-huh.
And the chocolates, they are there. And you know, they are sold to anybody. I mean, the children. But I understand there are even women who are taking them. The sweets, you know, they take and they feel they are good. Actually, any group of kids I deal with, I always ask them. And I have a wrapper. I normally have a wrapper. I display to them. Do you know this sweet? How many have taken? How did you feel? You know?
Yeah.
And then I tell them, this is not an ordinary sweet. This is a drug. Because what happens, the content is not so much, but you will keep taking it, you see? So you will get a craving, and that's how you go to the higher doses. Yeah.
Because you graduated.
So you can imagine small children, eh? They're just sweets.
They adore it.
And they're just in the shop. They're just in the shop. All these things are available. Sometimes I can ask a group of the ones I'm handling, how many minutes can I give you so that you can bring me a drug? 5 minutes. 5.
They will rush out of school, get it.
Even hata kama sio shule, wherever it is. Even wherever. 5 minutes.
They will come.
Yeah.
Wow. Now they have taken and they are getting introduced. What are some of the consequences, some of the effects that our adolescents are getting when they take these drugs?
The effects are dire. They are serious, because even beginning with their health. Yeah? Because those drugs, number one, they affect the brain.
Yes.
And you know the brain, once a brain cell is dead, it is dead. And each category of drugs, should we do it another time? There are charts that show how drugs affect each part of the body, and especially the brain. Each drug will affect the brain differently. So like alcohol, okay, you will see it has the least damage, alcohol. And as you progress, come a cocaine. If you look at the brain of a cocaine addict, it's punched. It's full of holes, and those are cells which are dead. So it is a terrible effect. And we know the brain, it is the man's brain.
Yes.
Without the brain, I mean, you see? And that is why you see madness. You see people can't coordinate, you see? Their lives are ruined. So that is one. Then there are the vital organs like the kidney, the liver, the heart. Because you see, when you become addicted, always you must have a certain percentage of the alcohol or whatever it is in your system. Kama haijafika hapo, that is when you display withdrawal symptoms. There is a teacher who told me that a student went mad. And you know, now she's mad and people think kurogwa, you see? They talk of other things.
Yes.
But the student was abusing drugs without anybody knowing. So now it has gone out of control. And the way the student managed it, you know, she would take every morning anavuta. So relatively calm. As long as ametumia. And so the withdrawal symptoms are terrible. Actually, when I talk with them, they say they feel so low. Once it's out of the system, they just feel so low, so depressed. So they just want to take another dose so that they feel, you see. And you see, now it means you are a slave. You are just like, how do I keep normal? How do I stay like a normal person? So again, the schoolwork is affected so badly. It is affected. Then there is guilt. You know, the effects are even psychological. They are social. You become withdrawn. You like you know, like the kuber, they put it under the lips, and kuber, it makes, after 6 hours they feel nauseated, very nauseated. So that is why they are always taking sweets.
To control the nausea.
Yeah. And then they are always spitting.
Mm.
Yeah, spitting anywhere and everywhere because of the nausea. So you see now, you are maladjusted. You can't stay in a meeting because you are spitting. So those are effects. And what I would like to say is, you know, they don't like it. Every addict. And another one, I don't know whether you have seen, there's a lot of use of muffins with young people. What happens is that they feel cold, kichwa. They buried in a gear because of the punch holes. So they really feel cold. So they are always in panic of fears. And you will fight with them to remove, but it's not their wish. They feel the head, the baridi, it gets in.
The effect of the drug is making them feel cold?
Yes, they feel cold. And you can spot them a mile away. Yes. And then, of course, there is, relationships are affected.
Yes.
With your parents, with teachers. You are always out of school because you have stolen. Why are you stealing? Because you want
to buy that.
To buy. And also, you know, you also get into the wrong hands of the law.
Yes.
Yes. Because you if you're caught with bangi, that is a crime, or whichever drug it is. So the effects are so many and they're so terrible. And the worst one is that now, like now when they get mad, they are not bathing. They are, you know, the stigma for the family.
Yes.
The cost. Some of these kids are taken to the rehab. That is the finances.
Yes.
So the family is drained. They are stealing from the family. You can imagine. So it is a whole cycle. It's a web.
Yes.
3, 2, 1, we can roll.
Okay, so the families are stigmatized. And you know, there is so much shame. Maybe it is, you know, they get violent sometimes.
Yeah.
They can't cope with life. I mean, all those issues. So the effects are terrible. And then the schooling is interfered with. And so eventually, those people, when they're supposed to be in school, they can't be in school. They are addicted. And their destinies generally, they are ruined. Drugs are a, destiny stealer, so to say. And you know, eventually those, when they get sober at some point, if you talk to a sober person, they are full of regrets. Yeah. And you see now that one is another can of worms, because they can get even suicidal. They feel hopeless. They have wasted their years. They count like, maybe I've been taking drugs for 10 years. That's a waste. I've been drinking for 10 years. That is wasted time. And you see, with young people, they have the advantage of time and energy. You see?
Yeah.
And that is why the enemy is really after them. Because when they have the energy and the time, it is wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is very sad, because eventually this person will become a liability even in their old age. So that's a long-term effect, both for the person and for the family and the society. Yeah.
The effects are many.
They are so many.
There are many.
There are so many.
Now, as we said, there are things that we can observe. We are in the festivities, and there are all those available drugs and substances that are in our homes. Some people will visit their little homes, and they've never been introduced. They are meeting their cousins. They are meeting their friends. So, as parents of teenagers, what are some of the red flags that we need to observe as parents to help us so that we can be able to reach out to our teenagers and help them? Yes.
Number one is change of behavior. Has the child been like this?
Probably you can just look into the camera.
Okay.
Yes, and
change of behavior.
yeah.
And that one is key, because when kids begin to take drugs, you know, number one, they become guilty, so they may want to keep off, you know, they begin to withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
They spend less time on their, with the family, more time with themselves. And then maybe even the eating habits, like some drugs like bangi, the kids, people tend to overeat. And that is why some people who do manual work, they take the bangi so that, there's a release of energy, a surge of energy. And so they're like, we take drugs, and so that we can work. Sometimes I talked about the hidden curriculum. Once a teacher went out of class, of course it can't be these ages, went out of class, went to the field and smoked, and then came to class and really did a complicated sum. So the kids were like, okay, when you smoke, you can do mathematics. So that's how one of them began to smoke. And you see, once you begin smoking anything, you keep on trying others. There is also another one that is really, and sadly, Jane, the girls have really, I think statistically, they're higher than the boys. And especially they're taking shisha. And you know, shisha is thick, it's thick, and it produces a lot of smoke. And I've seen it on social media. Somebody is a clip smoking, and like it's a very good thing. And so people will be, this looks cool. Yeah. So that availability, that you will notice this child is sleeping too much, even red watery eyes, yeah, even a strange smell. You can tell. And that is why for the parents, it is very good for them to monitor the behavior of the children. Know your child. And that is why this, the CBC, it has said no boarding in primary school, for example. Stay with your child. And because parents have lost touch with, so even when they change, when they are overeating, you don't even notice. When they are sleeping too much, you don't notice. Yeah? When they are, patterns, and insecurities, because people who take drugs, they are very insecure. They are always, alert.
Alertness.
Should they see a Land Rover? I had a brother who had a Land Rover. When he visited me along the road, that it's like people are running away because they think it's a police. It's a police. You see that insecurity.
Yeah.
So that is psychological, because it means, and when you are psychologically sick, you cannot be productive. So a lot of productivity goes to waste. So it is key for parents to notice even the habits, money, asking for money. If somebody is asking for money too much, for what? Maybe they are in campus, There are teens who are in campus, and they keep asking for more money for upkeep. You should not just send the money. Do a bit of investigation. Because the problem with our parents today, they have the money.
Yes.
So giving the money may not be an issue.
It's not
And
an
many
issue.
times they use it as a substitute for other things. They compensate
Yes.
the absence. Maybe there was something amiss in the family. They compensate, but it can never be compensated.
It is creating another
It is creating another
issue.
issue.
Yes.
So those are key things. Then kids who are on drugs, they have a lot of bruises. Sometimes wounds. Sometimes from falling. Maybe amelewa, ameanguka. Bruises. Then their figures, they are different because they are burnt. As like bangi, you really must, it's not like a cigarette. A cigarette has a filter. Bangi inakuwa raw. So they smoke up to the last. And they can't waste it. So they can't waste.
Yes.
So in the process, they get burnt. They have a lot of burns on the lips and on the hands.
So the parents should be keen on how the fingers are.
Yeah. They may also look, there are some who will never remove this, long sleeves, because of the injections, if they're using intravenous, they would like to hide the marks,
So all the time, whether it's hot or not.
Yes, all the time. This, and it's an era of hoods,
Yes.
So the hoods, even if it's very hot, the hoods are still there. So they're hiding the marks on the body. And I forgot to say that another effect, the communicable diseases, they can be very, very rampant because number one, like TB, they are sharing, they are very generous, they share. And some of the alcohol, it is very cold. And they take it when it is very cold. So they really get TB. And even the dents, the dents they use, they really communicable diseases. They can really infect each other. And of course, HIV and AIDS because of sharing the needles. Yeah.
And also even still other communicable diseases, like even sexually transmitted diseases, they could still be there.
Yes.
Because after one has taken this mind-altering substances, they are going to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes not even knowing what they are doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Many times, okay, drugs, almost all of them, they lower the judgment of the mind. So what you would otherwise not do, you will do it under the influence of drugs.
Yes, yes.
And there are even a lot of girls, it is worse for the girls, because girls are vulnerable. Women, let us say, we are vulnerable in many ways, because when you are attacked, you can't defend yourself. When you're drunk, you will be raped. It happens a lot. And so many girls have been raped, and they get pregnant because they can't even they have no clue who the father is, because sometimes it's a gang rape when they're intoxicated, and so it is terrible. It is worse for girls, and unfortunately there is a rise in the girls taking drugs. Even you can just survey, even as you walk around, you will see more women and more girls are drunk, even during the day. You cannot miss.
This one I met immediately after the elections of the 9th of August. And I think there was a lot of money. People were getting a lot of money around that time. So 2 days after the election, a girl was so drunk in the morning. I was going to church and so drunk, and she was saying, now where will we be getting money to drink? Where will we be getting money to drink? Because the campaigns are over and the election now has been done. So those are some of the things that actually that availability and the way the society is, the community, we are like, there was money to enable you to do this. We can continue.
The other thing is, I think we have an issue in the society in that we are not able to really mitigate. We just see things happening and we are like, let people handle their own issues. So that collectively, the society is not doing enough to help our children.
Yes, yes.
A child is, although still you see the parents again, you may just go and tell a parent, I saw your child, it becomes a fight. So there is a lot of indifference. So when you drink, now that is you. And then, so there are no interventions. The interventions that are required because of the scale, this thing has gone out of scale for the teachers, because we teachers, we can only deal with these things in school. We cannot follow the kids at home. And like when they go for the holiday, and let me say again, during the COVID, kids stayed home for so long.
Yeah.
They really learned some bad habits. Because, what do we do with this time? So when they came to school, they are like, now, what do we do? You see? And that is why they were even striking, so that they can go back. They can go home and do the things they were doing. So during the holiday, the parents, they should really plan for the kids, in terms of activities for the day. Even if you leave very early, give roles, assign, so that the kids are
Busy,
occupied.
yeah.
They are busy.
Mm.
And even monitoring who are they working with, because it's just amazing how the drugs are available, and people just carry them. It's not like before when people used to fear. They have them, they carry them, and there is no issue. So it is so easy for somebody, and if they know that this child is not taking, they are very generous. They really want to recruit. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of generosity in that area.
Okay. Priscilla, as we come to the end of our very informative and actually sharing of this information, as we come to the end, I would like us to just look at, is there help for these young adolescents, these our teenagers? How can they be helped? There are those that may be willing to change and to get out of this habit of the drugs. Is there hope?
There is hope. There is always hope.
Yes.
And there is hope in God.
Yes.
And people can reach out.
Yes.
Because we have facilities, We have facilities all over.
Yeah.
We have facilities all over that can help people cope. We have the children's offices. Yeah. And I'm sure if you walk there and ask, how can I be helped?
Yes.
They will guide.
Yes.
We also have, even liaising with teachers, and being open, because I can tell you that if I know somebody is taking bangi, I am not going to condemn them. I make them my friend to start with. And then, of course, giving information. I would say for people who are working with children and teenagers, give information. Tell them when you take drugs, this is what happens to your brain. Go with those chats in class, and because sometimes they don't know that anything is happening because they are children. Let them know when you take alcohol, this is the way it affects your health, your brain, your schoolwork. So that is one, and then we have we have the rehab centers for those extreme cases. But I believe even in our general hospitals, I believe that there is a unit for that. Yeah.
I'm also seeing that it may be helpful to have like seminars that are, so normal in terms of the sharing, that you don't go so high, because that very low place, identification of what is being used, I think is very important. These seminars, I guess, they can also be done in schools.
Yeah.
They can be done in churches or in areas of worship, where the in charges can be able, or the clergy can be able to help and organize these parents. I've also been a Sunday school teacher, and sometimes you get so many kids coming with different things to the church.
Yeah.
And I think the teachers also in the Sunday school can also be a very good avenue to help these parents, and calling them with love, because as you said, in school, a child will be told by the parent, I told you not to take this one. Take the one I take. Now that one needs a lot of progress, slowly by slowly, for this parent also to get to know that what they are doing in the life of the child. Yeah, okay. So I don't know whether you have a parting shot as we come to the close.
I would say,
yeah,
parents in a very big way are lagging behind. They are really being overtaken by their children. They are so ignorant, and even many times when they are called for seminars, they are too busy. But I think the first way of dealing with it is parents being empowered to deal with these issues on their own, so that they can see the red flags. They can see my child has changed. They can, the telltale signs. And then I would say, for those who are working with children, do it like, make it an anthem. Talk about a drug, even just a day, per day, daily. Hammer it until they cannot run away from it. As a teacher, I can tell you, I talk about those things on daily basis. I must say it. I must tell them. Don't make people rich, because those are cartels which are benefiting. They get rich, and then your life is destroyed. But I think my focus would be more on the parents. They'd be more on the parents. Get information, read books, go for seminars, get empowered, so that you can help your child. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Priscilla, for this very informative session. I am really hopeful that our parents are watching, and they will continue watching, and they'll be able to learn more from what we have shared today. And our viewer, if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can contact us on the number on the screen, and we'll be able to help you more, because our children are our future, and we need to establish them, to give them a good foundation, not their lives to be just a wreck, not to be spoiled, not to have a future. We want to build a foundation. You can get in touch with us. And until next time, I want to say thank you so much. Enjoy yourself, and it is bye for now.